Hi everyone, it's Marissa, aka Celeste Orchid. Today's video is about making a spring beach wedding dress. I made this dress intentionally thinking, hey, I don't want a long gown, I want something simple to show off my legs, to show off my frame, and I want to be able to breathe, hence spring beach wedding dress. I did challenge myself to have a time frame and I chose about 24 hours time to make it. I did draft my own pattern. If you're worried that you can't draft your own pattern for your own wedding dress, do not worry. Down below, I have listed a few different patterns by some sewing companies that are very similar to what I've made. And without further ado, let's get started on making this dress! First, I am using this velvet cream fabric. It is really beautiful and it has like this nice embossing. So when you see it in the light, you can see this really cool like vermillion pattern. Look how beautiful it is. So soft. Gotta cover the dress on. I'm using a bunch of ads that I get through the mail to draft my pattern, and this is just a cheap alternative than using muslin and everything like that. Like, I firmly believe in recycling things that you have. So I'm using duct tape, or you can use packing tape if it's clear. I'm pinning it on my mannequin with tape. Feel free to use packing tape because it's easier on the needles instead of duct tape. And just go around it. Once you have fully gone how far you want to go, I'm going to make a deep plunge short dress. And I'm just going around it and drafting out what it's going to look like. And when I say deep, I want it to show a little bit of boobage, but I don't want it to be like overdoing it. And I'm also going to make the section on the side into a few different pieces so it lays a little bit better and it can contour better. So now just go back and start taking it off and cutting it out. Cutting it out takes a little bit of time and jerry-rigging. Just remember which parts you have. Now that I have it all cut out, I even made a dart for the butt part of the skirt and just start cutting it out. Because I used duct tape, I did have to use like pattern weight kind of stuff. Again, I don't own pattern weight, but there's that. And just start going around and cutting out all your pieces. Now, pin them together and start sewing them. I actually only did a single stitch, so I did the chain stitch going through because I knew I was going to line this material. And this is where I messed up. I should have used these pieces as a lining. That way I didn't have to go back and hem the skirt really awkwardly. So continue sewing all of the edges until you are finished. And I mean, not all the edges, don't close up the dress yet. You gotta add a zipper. And here you can see I'm removing pins while I sew because this fabric is a little thick and if I don't, it might get bunchy. Here it is completely hidden. Just kidding, this is the lining material. I'm using a nice white cotton and it's not stretchy, so this might be a problem, but I don't know. So I had to go back and use the pattern pieces from before, but that's not a problem. I should have just used the other pieces and then I wouldn't have to hem and it would all be the same. But, you know, you learn when you're crafting. As you can see, I'm using like everything to cut like way down my pattern pieces. Don't be afraid to use anything else that isn't a real pattern weight and just take your time and make sure it doesn't move. And like I said, use packing tape, not duct tape. So, yay. And always use your fabric scissors when you're cutting out your fabric. And I made that dress, this loft one. It's pretty cool. Okay, so now start sewing your lining together. And for the lining, I did want it a little bit more stable. So I did do a zigzag stitch, which is totally unnecessary. So I did a single stitch, chain stitch down the seams. And then I went back and just like reinforced it a little bit. And then it was going to be done, so I thought. Nope, I had to keep going to all the sides. And I mean, these are really simple seams. They're not too difficult. So sewing all of it together only took about 10 minutes until it came to actually combining the shell of the dress, the lining of the dress. So here we go, sewing away. Yes. And make sure to lock your stitches. If you don't lock your stitches, that's a base no-no. You need to lock your stitches. And that's where you just go back and forth at your seam. Remember to remove your pins. Regardless of what type of fabric it is, always remove your pins because you don't want it stuck inside the garment. And just continue from there. Here I am sewing the neckline down first because I want this one to lay flat as possible and make sure that the lining is the same side as the shell. This way the shell will be fine and then the lining will be the same as the top. And then I want to do that to the back piece too right before I add the zipper. And you can see here while I'm sewing that the shell and the lining do not fit. The hem doesn't fit. Here I am base stitching the top. This way I know how much fabric I have left over under the lining, which I shouldn't have any at all, but like I said, I didn't have the same cut for the lining to the shell. So don't be afraid to use your your shell cuts for your lining and base stitching that. So here's my dilemma. Here's the hem of the skirt. You can see the lining hanging out, and I overall wanted it to be a little bit shorter because it hung a little past my knees. And here we go. We're just going to slowly cut across, and you have to be really careful. So the stretchy, the velvet fabric was actually a little bit stretchy. So cutting, I had to make sure that I wasn't pulling the fabric. Otherwise, it would really start to bunch up while cutting or even sewing. So if you aren't careful, you might get puckering. And here I go. Oh, look at that. It's so nice. Nicely cutting that bad boy. And because I didn't want the seam to be showing for my hem, I hand sewed that, and I also hand sewed the sleeves shut using a slip stitch. And now you can see that the lining was perfectly fine. I went ahead and already sewed in a zipper a while ago just to close it up. I just sewed it normally. I didn't do anything fancy. I'm still learning how to do the other way, but it's fine. Also here, I'm just gonna even out the edge of the lining. It's kind of messed up because it was underneath. So you just want to double check and make sure that it lays straight. And if it's not laying straight, just cut off that little edge. Because if you see it, right now, it's not straight. And you can see that there's a little dit versus not. So cut that off! Like I said, should have sewn the pieces together, but I didn't. This is just a learning thing for everyone, isn't it? And ta-da! Now we just pull it down. And now we're just gonna hand sew that closed, slip stitching, because there's just no way that it's not going to be able to be slip stitched. And make sure everything's lined up, and then you're good to go to start sewing it. And I mean, line up every single seam, and that's how you know it'll lay right. Oh look, you can see the pattern. The pattern looks really nice. I'm really excited to show you how it's gonna look. So I also went and inverted the dress, so the lining outside out, to show you there is a little bit of scrap on the velvet piece, the shell piece. And I just wanted to even that out with the lining. So I know it seems like a lot of effort right now that I'm showing you, but I'm telling you, when you cut your base piece out, cut your lining at the same time and use that as a base. Do not cut separately, because this was a pain in the ass to get it to lay right together and make sure that they're even. And usually you have a larger shell and then you just wrap it on top of the lining. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So here you can see I'm actually serging the bottom hem first because I want it to be reinforced. I want it to be super strong. And I mean, if I'm going to be moving a lot in it, I don't want it to pucker and fray if it does come undone. So now, here comes the hand sewing fun part. And I'm telling you, hand sewing is not the funnest thing, but it is kind of therapeutic. So make sure you're ready with long hours. Just kidding. If you do it as fast as I am in the video, which is not fast. This actually took me about 3 to 4 hours just to hand sew the entire dress. And And I mean, I'm slip stitching it, so if I can get it right and I can show you, it actually looks really nice. So it hides the seam. Yeah, just slip stitch the armholes and the bottom hem, and then you'll be done. And if you have any questions about the zipper, I know I didn't show it. I just used a gray one because that's what I had on hand. And usually people don't care too much about the back of the dress, but I figured, hey, that might be your color, it might not. Feel free to use the color that is being represented in your wedding or your favorite color, period. And I just want to show you what the dress looks like. So who's ready for the final reveal?
I am.
Here we go! Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to click that like button. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe down below. Leave me a comment saying if you would wear this wedding dress in spring or at the beach. And be sure to click on one of these future videos over here on the sidebar, one I wear somewhere here, and I will see you in my next video.